Right. I think we've got a sizable number now. Uh, Welcome, everyone. Before we begin, I would like to introduce Mr. Ethnic Mtinda, the NCC representative in Kenya. He's here with us today, and alongside him, as my colleague, he will be taking points that you'll be raising. And please note that for the sake of order, everyone will be muted, and all muted participants, kindly, if you have any questions, type them in the chat box. We will definitely address all the questions at the end of the webinar. And I encourage everyone to be actively involved, listening actively and taking notes, if possible. And if there are any key points that resonates with you, let's engage at the end of the session. Otherwise, we can start now. Right. Allow me to share the screen that we're going to be using for our webinar. Just a moment. All right. It's coming. Right, there we go. I think to some, this webinar might sound like a repeat, but an updated version of our previous maladministration webinar that we have run before. The main reason why we are running this again is to conscientize our centers um, on the cases that constitute maladministration and what we can do to avoid repeating the same issues. We always take it that the experience of one center is the experience of the other center. So we don't want you to commit it first to learn about it. So we're going to be uh, looking at all the issues that have constituted maladministration from our previous cycles and what we've been observing, what the common trend has been about, and how best we can resolve the cases. So basically, our webinar is going to be structured like we're going to be defining what maladministration is, what constitutes maladmin, what are the common cases that have been committed by centers. And please kindly note that at this, especially at number 3, you can also learn what other centers have been stumbling on so that you can avoid that, and also ways to avoid committing maladmin. What are the duties and obligations of centers, as well as the duties and obligations of NCC education? And finally, we're going to be talking about the center maladministration process and sanctions. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. That is to define what maladmin is all about. So if I can quote it verbatim, maladministration is any activity that results in mistakes, and take note of that, poor process, neglect, default, or other practice that results in the sender or the candidate not complying with the specified requirements for delivery of qualifications. So if you look at that definition, I know quite a number of times when I've engaged with centers, they will tell you that no, look, Muno, we have oh, Can't you see the screen? Maybe let me stop it and reshare again. Can you confirm, everyone, that you're not seeing the screen? Maybe it could be the issue of networks. Otherwise, yeah, I was very much worried because it's showing that it's sharing on my end. Okay, right. So in any case, if you have challenges seeing the screen, you can always request for the video presentation. I'll share that with you. So I was just trying to clear out what really maladministration is all about. And you know, some centers during our engagement will say, no, we sent the work that you wanted, upon submission. And when CSCs got back to us, those issues were resolved. But if you note that in the definition, there's an aspect of mistake. That mistake on its own for not sending the totality of the submission content, it amounts to maladmin. So which means that maladmin is committed the moment you commit the mistake, the moment you don't follow the process, the moment you neglect. I've noted something, apologies, I've omitted this. And when you talk, we want to address maladmin, then, they will say, no, 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 but we talked about it, but on its own, maladmin will have already happened. So it's very important for us all to be quite vigilant and be quite articulate when it comes to all these processes. We need to be thorough when it comes to these processes. We need to give ourselves time to make sure that all the processes are followed and no mistake is put in. And when such that happens, it will compromise the integrity of our qualifications. All right, so we go on. Right. What is the scope of maladmin? Okay, so this encompasses various areas. It's not only at the point of submission that maladmin can be committed. There is an assessment process. Okay, and this assessment process involves the receiving of exam papers, the way you're going to be handling the exam papers, the way you're going to be conducting the assessment process, or the administration of the exam papers. Maladmin can easily be committed during that process. So it is always good that we follow the exam conduct processes, making sure that we follow and the environment is as set in the policy or the guideline. Okay, the handling of the material themselves, making sure that there is no leakage, okay, because that will compromise the integrity of our qualifications. Record keeping. We must make sure that we keep all the records crucial to the certification of our students. Maladmin can easily occur. The most common one when I've engaged with some of the centers is the lecturer who's been marking this unit has left, so we're struggling to get the marks, or we're struggling to get the work. But the issue is the administrators or the center coordinators are the final repository of any academic information. So you cannot allow lecturers to have the out the the work for the students and you don't have it. That should always be avoided by any means, and make sure that all the records are with the administrators, such that whenever there is a query, whenever you need any information, you can easily retrieve it, be it on holiday whilst your lecturers or your tutors are away. You need to be able to retrieve that. Okay. There is an aspect of confidentiality. Okay. Uh, if it is breached, it amounts to maladmin. We have had cases where some students who submit their work earlier, and because we're not keeping our records well in a confidential way, some students will get access to such information and maybe they copy or maybe they plagiarize. At the end of the day, we are going to be penalizing the wrong person, thereby compromising the integrity again, because the one that we're going to be giving the benefit of the doubt may not be the rightful person to, for us to do that. It is because we've failed in the confidentiality aspect, and we should always make sure that we keep that information as confidential as possible, and also not only the unsubmitted work, but it could be the assessment records of the learner. Such is sensitive information that should always be very much confidential and only privy to the rightful people. Okay. The other challenge as well is to fail to abide with the deadlines that are set in the activity schedules. Maybe to clear on the activity schedules as well, I've received quite a number of inquiries from some of the centers saying that we can't find the new spec activity schedules for the DB pathway or for the business pathway. The business pathway is currently under reinvention, and we using the current legacy cycle, legacy spec. So all the activity schedules for the business qualifications, until the new business redeveloped package is rolled out, that is only when that will be available to the new spec. Okay, so the activity schedules are quite clear on the deadlines, that be it registrations, be it enrollments, and be it the submission of the exams themselves, be they assignments. So we must always make sure that as the administrators, we need to take note of the deadlines, embed them in our academic calendars such that the two speak to each other. Failure to correctly follow other assessment related processes, that is, capturing of marks or samples. It is also very important that when we have several lecturers teaching the same unit, samples are taken per lecturer, not per unit. Okay, so if we have 4 lecturers with our 50 students teaching computer networks, for instance, for the 4 lecturers, we need to select a sample that reflects the marker. Poor communication. I've noted that this has been on the rise of late, where some of the centers fail to heed to communications. Either they don't communicate that we have not had any students who have taken up this assessment. we leave everything to guessing, or there is a communication that is circulated. Like recently, we had um, cyber modules communique that was sent or communicated, but some of the senders failed to take heed of that, and they ended up inconveniencing students because the communique itself came with um, the processes to be followed, the updates on the teaching material, what to do on the assessment. A very good example is DBus and NSC, where it was communicated that we're supposed to be using the new spec material to teach the students, even those registered on the legacy, specifically for those 2 units. Okay. And some of the senders were only surprised when they found the new spec material in the legacy exam, but the communication was already sent to say, please teach students this way. And also, even the assignments are going to be the same. So students were surprised, they were shocked when they received that. Those areas that they may not have covered during the course of the learning process. So let us always make sure that we take note of communications when they are sent, or maybe we may need to um, assign a specific person who will be scrutinizing all those communications, making sure that that is cascaded down structures to enable each and every person affected to know the updates. Let's go to the next one. Right. Now, from our experiences with the past cycle or past cycles, we have noted that there are common trends in what is constituting maladmin from center to center. The first one is non-submission of attendance, marks, marker name, and moderation samples. Please make sure that when you put them in a folder, you have put them into the rightful folder, and then the folder is named properly as per the guideline. Some senders have always maintained and taken screenshots that we have submitted this, but when you open the folders, they will be empty. Sometimes we forget to do the attendance, or for a student that has been absent, you mistakenly put a mark for that. So we've already talked about the moderation samples as well. So let's make sure that whenever we are approaching our submission, we take our time such that we have ample time to check our submissions. Does it have everything that is required? Okay. Incorrect submission of attendance, marks, moderation, samples, or marker name. Yes, I think that is quite self-explanatory. Incomplete submission. Um, this relates to, again, what I've talked about, that the submission may actually be complete, but you have not packaged the work properly, such that the moderation samples, global examination scripts, there may be missing samples. Like I've already indicated, that if you are having separate lecturers taking the same unit, you need to make sure that the samples themselves are enough. Missing Turnitin reports is no longer that common these days. I think we have mastered the downloading of correct or valid Turnitin reports. And sometimes we get missing examination scripts in the respective folders that you'll have packaged them in. Let's see. I think there's another one that I wanted We've already talked about failure to hit to important announcements. The cases we've already talked about that example as well. We also have incorrect registrations, okay, where the center is currently running legacy specification and the new specification again, and then the students are registered crisscross. A student who's been enrolled on new spec is registered to do legacy spec, or the student registered or enrolled to do legacy spec is registered now to take new spec material. And please make sure that we always check, we always confirm whether these students are enrolled on the new spec, they are taught the new spec, and they have to be assessed on the new spec. Okay. Missing marker names. I've noted that maybe one of the major contributors to this is when you take up the new spec, the units may not be exactly the same. So the registered markers for the old spec, even if you have not changed your lecturers, you may need to send us the updated teaching appendices for the new spec, allocating the lecturers appropriately to say, oh, okay, fine. We had SDT for L4DC, and then we are now having OSAD. So if you can look at it, the two units, even if they are the same in terms of the content, though the other one is the later version, the units may not necessarily be the same. The unit names have changed, and we need to reassign our lecturers to the new units. So it may not be appearing on the approved list of markers on courts for you to select. So whenever you see that, please make sure that you update your teaching appendices, and also be a regular on your court system, so that if there are any updates, if there are any issues that you feel that they are not showing properly, you can always get in touch with the team and that will be resolved. I have also noted that through our engagement with the assessment team, they are complaining that Turnitin reports are okay, but senders are not sending AI reports. And please make sure that whenever you download your Turnitin report, you will also separately download the the AI report. Okay. And note that the use of AI, according to our policy, is treated as impersonation. Okay. Um, I'm going to be showing you how to download the AI reports for those who may not be familiar with that process. Okay. So already there we are. If you are to download your Turnitin report, or your AI report rather, you log into your Turnitin website the normal way that you do. You open the assignment submission box, or inbox rather, and then you open your normal Turnitin report, where it shows you the AI score. You click on that score for the AI, and you open a separate window for the AI, separate from the plagiarism report that you will have opened initially. So you can now download the AI report, and the AI report will, just like the Turnitin report or the plagiarism report, will be downloaded in PDF. So you can always open the PDF file to assess what is said to have been machine generated, and then you assess it according to the policy. You suggest the way you look at it, because you know that as centers you retain the right to investigate any occurrence or any committance of use of unauthorized use of AI according to the policy that is given to you, and then you suggest the penalties according to the guide. And remember, let me just remind everyone whilst you're there as well that the assessment role, the investigations and the like, it's vested on the center, because you are the training institution, and us, we are only an awarding body, and we rely more on your practice, your due diligence in most of the processes. Then when it comes to the submission, just to help you, I know the CSEs does give you the submission checklist, but from a maladmin point, from what we have noted as we interact with the assessment team, your submission must always have a candidate declaration form, a candidate marked scripts, which are samples, not all of them. The marking guide with the mark breakdown and justification. And some have said to me, no, we don't have a template, but the template is already provided in the marking guide. It provides you on how you're going to be doing the breakdown, the Turn-It-In report, the AI report, and lab sign-offs if applicable. Someone said to me that, Muno, no, we didn't receive any instruction that we need to submit the lab sign-offs for computer systems. But at the end of every assignment, they are available as an appendix. So please, let's make sure that even as coordinators, even if we are not subject specialists, we need also to be familiar on the requirements, so that if a lecturer submits the computer systems assignments and the like, and there are no lab sign-offs, you already know that there are no lab sign-offs, because it's something physical, not logical. Okay. Let's go to the next slide, which talks about the implications, the ramifications of maladmin. You know, I've always said that we are all operating in a value chain, and NCC does have conditions of accreditation with Ofqual. And you as our accredited partner as well, you also have, the, how best can I put it? Yeah, when we sign up a partnership, there are definitely conditions of that partnership. That's why we want to make sure that we all contribute together to the bigger picture, and the bigger picture being to maintain our accreditation as an awarding body with Ofqual, because I know that all of you, if Ofqual is not there, then the qualifications that you offer or we offer you won't even be recognized in the respective countries that you're offering the qualification. Because one of the conditions when you get or when we liaise with the regulators is they respect the status of origin. And if the status of origin is breached, it means that we have affected the entire value chain. Okay, so the implications could be loss of credibility of our qualifications. When you're talking about lack of or loss of credibility, we have regulators, we have employers, we have students. If the reputation of the institution is tarnished, it means that regulators won't employ students with our qualifications. As we know that governments are the biggest employers, especially when you're talking about the African region. Our governments are the biggest employers. So regulators being very much aligned to the government, if they speak against our qualifications, it means that we lose our credibility. So for us to maintain that, we need to make sure that we avoid uh, anything that can cause to or lead to reputational damage. There will also be, negative publicity, and it's quite unfortunate that negative publicity spreads like fire. Whenever there is, anything negative about the assessment process, the learning process, the certification process, and the like, it will spread like fire, and people will end up shunning our qualifications. There are also, operational disruptions. Uh, when we have the back and forth of the when we requesting further information and the like, it actually holds the moderation process. It delays the moderation process. You look at the increased costs or increased costs of oversight and and compliance. How is that? You find that the ASM, the BDM, and the CSEs are all following up on centers. We are supposed to be concentrating on other aspects that ensures that we continue developing as a team. We continue providing the best service, but we will be locked in one corner trying to resolve the administrative issues or the maladministration issues, following up, making sure that there are no cancellations. And if we get to a point where we fail to address the maladmin concerns, then the moderation process will not continue, and it will lead to cancellation of those submissions. And again, it comes in with the adverse effect on students, because they fail to get their students in time, they fail to progress in time. So let's always make sure that we avoid such issues. There is also a financial aspect that comes in with maladmin. We can lose, revenue. You lose revenue, we lose revenue. Okay. There are legal costs that can be incurred in trying to resolve those issues. There are potential lawsuits that can come, because remember, as one person from the quality department, our measure of quality is fit for purpose. But if the fit for purpose is defeated by maladmin, it means that we have failed our pledge. So let's make sure that we all help each other to meet the pledge. You look at the quality of education can easily be compromised by maladmin. We talked about the issues of safekeeping of assessment material. Whenever that is compromised, it means that we end up certifying people who are not fit for purpose, and then our standards will go down. All right. And there are those students who will be affected by maladmin, they will have a different, thinking about the whole process. I know I've dealt with some centers where that had already negatively affected the stakeholders down the structures. Like students thought that NCC is scrap. Parents also felt the same because of maladmin issues. And if you look at it, it will it will be very difficult even for you as a sender to pick up the numbers because the first cut is always the deepest. Okay, there are regulatory implications. I've always said that uh, it's not like we are always fussy about the senders committing maladmin, but we also report ourselves if we hit a certain metric or a certain measurement of our in terms of maladmin numbers. We are bound to report ourselves to Ofqual. That's why we always want us to work together to make sure that we mitigate these issues. The more we keep reporting ourselves to Ofqual, we will also be increasing, the regulatory scrutiny. They will be scrutinizing us a lot to say, are your processes okay? Are your checks and balances in place? Do you have a working policies? And same applies to us as well. We will come down to you to check whether you have policies in place, whether they are working policies or they are just on paper. That scrutiny is bound to increase because of what we may have observed or what our regulators will have observed as well. Okay. Um, it might result in sanctions. I've always said again, it doesn't please us to cut our ties with centers because we want our relationship to proceed, to go on and the like. But if they are those concerns, remember the credibility, remember the fit for purpose measurement. If that is compromised, sometimes we don't want one fish to spoil the entire dam. So we end up chucking out that particular fish, but it's not like we do it with pride. We definitely want everyone to be on board. We continue our relationships, celebrating our relationships as well. Then, on ways to avoid maladmin, it reminds me of one of my lecturers back then who used to, say it in a quite funny way. Whenever he talks about common causes, okay, he would say, you just negate the causes. So in this way, I also want to say, to avoid a maladmin, you just need to negate the causes of maladmin. And you can do this by following the submission guide that is shared by our CSEs, or making sure that you set your own internal deadlines. We have talked about due diligence more often. Okay, set your own deadlines. Have a clear academic calendar that is communicated to all stakeholders such that you help each other building onto the process rather than the administrator being the sole custodian and the one who knows about the academic calendar. You don't need to go and remind. Yes, here and there you might need to remind, but if you set up your administrative structures properly, everyone will know, that this is our deadline and we do that together as a team. We need also to conduct internal checks on submissions, documents prior to us reaching the deadline. That is the due diligence that you're talking about. As an administrator, it is your responsibility to make sure that you embed the internal checks throughout the entire process. Students themselves, they're supposed to be aware of the checklist so that they also do their own checks before they submit to the lecturers. Lecturers also need to know what constitutes the checklist. What do I have to receive from the student? It's not supposed to be, the administrator always saying, no, there's no sign off. No, there's no, the respective lecturers needs to know that a correct submission is supposed to be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Making sure that the center markers are well versed on the marking requirement and processes. We have talked about mark standardization sessions that we can conduct as a center. And let's always make sure that we upskill our lecturers. We upskill our tutors. If we recruit new or they are new units, let's make sure that we sit together as an academic team. We deliberate on the requirements and make sure that everyone is aware and is up to speed with the requirements. Communicate effectively, not only with the ASM department, but with the entire team, so that we support each other. If there are any issues that you feel that you are not very clear of, it is recommended that we communicate. You would rather give me sleepless nights, but have the issues done right. Okay. Now, racing against our time, we left with 15 minutes. We need to look at the duties and obligations of centers. Okay. So number one duty of the center is to make sure that maladmin is communicated. Whenever there is any suspect of any instances, okay, you are supposed to report that to NCC. Okay. It is also the duty of the center and its members to supply any further information required during the investigations. I've noted quite a number of times, especially with problematic centers, that they try their level best to conceal the information, but that won't even save them, because if that is noted, that will be gross. Okay, you will be facilitating maladmin. That's what it will mean. Okay. Failure of a center to cooperate with maladmin investigations may lead to penalties being imposed as outlined in the center sanctions policy. Okay, it is very much related to the second one. Our center staff are reminded that failure to disclose maladmin is in itself a form of malpractice. If there has been any compromise in your assessment material, please always make sure that you communicate that before it comes out. All right. Candidates enrolled on NCC qualifications are strongly encouraged to report all suspected instances of maladmin to NCC in confidence. It's a tripartite arrangement or relationship that we need to uphold. So students need to know during the induction process itself that they are also responsible for the maladmin, though the greater chunk is with the center, but students are also involved in the maladmin process. That is the reporting aspect of it. Okay. Then when it comes to NCC education, we are responsible for overseeing all investigations, into suspected or alleged maladmin. I've discussed with other centers where they say, no, this was maladmin, but we noted that it was not maladmin. Yes, it will have been cleared during the investigations that it is not maladmin. We also implement a robust monitoring and audit mechanism to detect and address any maladministrations or maladmin occurrences early. I think you have noted, some of you, that during our AMV visits, there are certain issues that we say, no, let's correct here, let's correct that. That is the monitoring and the auditing processes. Okay. We also provide comprehensive training to our accredited partner centers to ensure that you know the standards that are required and also the procedures, just like what you are doing, updating you on the common causes of maladmin, what we can do to avoid the occurrence of such maladmin. We develop as well clear policies and procedures for handling instances of maladmin. I think you have seen quite a number of times your CSE is coming to you, sometimes the ASM is coming to you, sometimes the BDM's coming to you as well, deliberating on those aspects, making sure that they are resolved as quick as possible. Okay. We also need to maintain an open and transparent communication with our stakeholders to manage their expectation and maintain trust. Okay, like I've said before, that we don't want to cut ties with senders. We don't want to have cancellations of submissions. In actual fact, like we've already indicated and seen, that maladmin occurs at the point of entry. The moment you commit the mistake, maladmin has already been committed. But the issue we're saying is we will make follow-ups to make sure that we try to resolve that. Okay. We are also mandated to report to our regulators, in accordance with the conditions of recognition. Some of the regulators within the African continent, the national qualification framework, or the local regulators, they require us to communicate with them, flagging any cases of malpractice or maladmin. Okay, so we are in this together, and we should always make sure that we mitigate the occurrence of these issues as much as possible. And when it comes to the center sanction policy, we can all access it via courts, but if I can take a snippet from that, which is what I've shared there, the center will be sanctioned if there are 3 sanctions or more, or cases rather, of maladmin in one cycle. All right. So there is sanction 1, there is sanction 2, and then there is sanction 3. Or sanction 1, we're saying you are going to be receiving a sanction letter if there are 3 or more cases of maladmin committed in one cycle. Okay. And you are going to be receiving a written warning from NCC, and the center will be monitored for 1 academic year. Okay. And these maladmin issues will be addressed through the AMV processes. We talk about it and the like. And if there is a repeat, which is where sanction 2 kicks in, following sanction 1, an additional warning will be issued if a center committed 3 or more maladmin in further cycles. For instance, we are talking about spring. If you committed maladmin in spring, and then you receive a sanction letter, which is level 1. And if you're going to be committing the same again in summer, you are going to get sanction letter 2. Okay. And further to 1 and 2, the sender may be put on stop until all those issues are addressed. So we don't want to get to a point where senders are put on stop, because it affects your registrations, and the relationship will be strained. We don't want to get there. So let's always make sure that we work together. Okay. Then we have sender policies on maladmin. Senders are required to produce their own policies, and I've always maintained that as a center, when we do our AMVs, we need to see the evidence of you implementing your internal policies. And the evidence of you implementing your center policies will be through the evidence of learning and the evidence of quality assurance. When we collect that information together, it will substantiate the implementation of our policies. Okay. Right. If you have any issues or you want guidance on development of your internal practice or malpractice rather, or maladmin policies or any other procedures, please, we are there to assist, we are there to guide, but we are not there to provide the policies themselves. We can guide. We always respect that when you are involved in the production of your own policies, you will have ownership of those policies, and the implementation part of it won't be problematic. Okay. So far, so said. I want to thank you all for your participation. Let me stop sharing and see if there are any questions that you may have raised. Right. Let me see the questions. Yes, I can see that there is this question that the Turnitin report and the AI reports, yes, they need to be separate, and they are all downloaded in PDF format. Okay. I've already showed, or maybe for the sake of clarity, allow me to get onto my Turnitin account so that I can show you how to do that. Just a moment. Just a moment. Right, there we go. Unfortunately, the work that I have may not be having that much, but I think for instruction purposes, it may serve the purpose. All right, there we are. Let me see. All right, there we are. Let me share the screen now. Oh, okay. Right, I hope we can all see the screen now. Right, so when I open this, okay. Right, so this is our normal similarity index, and this is where we get our AI. So we click here on AI. Okay, it will take me to the Turnitin AI writing detection. Okay, and because it is 0%, it won't show that much. But for all the samples that you're going to be submitting, for all during your survey, I know you are required to indicate where there has been committance of of AI. So this is where you go to the respective reports and you download this AI report. You click on this download icon, and then you get AI writing report. You download that. Okay. When you download that, you see that it's downloading. Yeah. Then there it is. Then we open it. Okay. So can you see that it gives more or less the same summary like it gives with the Tenetrin or the plagiarism report? And it will be highlighting the areas where AI use may have been picked. Okay. Let me stop sharing and see if there are any other questions. Okay, are the AI reports supposed to be submitted for the June cycle onwards? The AI reports were supposed to have been submitted all along. That's why I said that was a requirement, and indeed, yes, they are all supposed to be submitted. Okay. Any other questions? Let me see. Okay, I don't see any questions here. Okay. Okay. Right. I can see that there are no further questions. I would like to thank you all for the questions that you have asked. I can see. Okay. Hi, please, can this webinar recording be made available? Yes, it's going to be made available. To minimize maladmin, can we upload the attendance marks names on file instead of individual? I think this issue has been addressed by the CSEs before. Okay. The CSEs, unfortunately, the CSEs are not on call today, but I remember attending one of the submission webinars where they made it quite clear that there is a guide that is provided on how to capture their attendance and the like. So at the moment, it will remain as it is. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? If a student submits their software together with their report for an assignment and in transit the software, in transit the software gets corrupted, is it maladmin? How to cater for it? Yeah, you know, the most difficult part of that is uh ultimately, when we receive the information, we should be able to moderate. So as long as we are not able to moderate that work, but there are certain concessions that can always be made. We always look at it case by case, but the ultimate goal is us being able to do the moderation process that completes the assessment process. So as long as we are not able to moderate, we can't assume, and it's always a very dangerous game in education to use assumptions. Okay, I hope you answered there. I can see still on AI report, does it mean each student's assignment we are to submit 3 files? Yes. the AI, the Turnitin, and the assignment itself. Okay. Anything else? Are you answered, Mr. Charles? Oh, by the way, my apologies. Are you answered, Dr. Charles? Apologies. I hope accepted. Okay. Thank you so much for the compliment, Mr. Danielson. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope that we're going to put this session to use, and let's work together. Let's develop together. That is always my motto. I'm always there. I'm not always the best, but we can always work together to make sure that everything is done and we help each other as a team. I can see that there is another question there. We mostly experience cases of files can be opened. How can this be fixed? I think thank you so much about that, Mr. Diamante. I'm going to escalate this to the respective department that deals with submissions. We had similar problem in we used 7-zip to compress, and this problem, okay, 7-zip is perfect. So that's why I said I think they'll always be looked at case by case, but otherwise, the guide should always be followed, and it will save us from all these issues. All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy your afternoon, your evening, and your morning. To me, still morning, to others is now evening, to others is now afternoon. We meet again very soon. Bye.